Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to our lecturer Ms. Jamhira and also to the all audience. Our group consists of 6 members, which is NURILLA SYAFIEZA, NURFATIN ALYA, NURSAHIRA ANITH, MOHAMAD NAZRI, SHARNIDA, NURNADIRA. Today our group will be presenting about topic that we get, which is the Spratly Island dispute issue. Let's watch the video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nazri bin Muhammad Hadis. The Spratly Island dispute is a long-standing territorial dispute in the South China Sea involving several countries in the region, including China, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei and Taiwan. The dispute revolves and competing territorial claim to the Spratly Island, which are a group of island, reef, shoal located in the South China Sea. The Spratly Island is believed to have significant oil and natural gas reserve, as well as being strategically important for their potential to control maritime trade routes. The competing claim to the island are based on historical, geographical and legal arguments, with each country asserting sovereignty over some or all of the island. So the dispute has been characterized by tension, rivalries and occasional skirmish among the claimant country. So there have been an incident of naval clashes, fishing vessel competition and also diplomatic protests. China has been particularly assertive in its claim, undertaking extensive land reclamation activities, building artificial island and also establish military installation in the area, which has raised concern among the claimant and country that have interest in the region.
Right, so I will explain about the main actor. The first one is historical claims and island occupation by China, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia and Taiwan. The potential reserve of natural gas and oil located on the Spratly Island are important to governments in the region. Despite their long seafaring history, it is impossible to say which country first colonized or used this island. All the countries stated have competing historical claims to the Spratly Island, which they now occupy. China has claimed historical sovereignty over the Spratly Island for centuries, citing old maps and historical records as evidence, while Vietnam claims that it has had control of the island since the 17th century, and that Vietnamese fishermen and traders have used them for generations. Moreover, the Philippines claims historical and legal rights to the Spratly Island, and aside from that, Malaysia and Taiwan also have their own claim on the Spratly Island. Malaysia has claimed sovereignty over several islands and reefs in the area, while Taiwan has a historical, geographical and cultural claim to the Spratly Island. The Spratly Island issue is complicated and contentious, with conflicting historical claims and present possession by several countries.
The next one is
the abundance of natural resources in the area, including oil, gas and fish. The Spratly Island conflict is compounded by the wealth of natural resources in the area, including oil, gas and fish. The South China Sea, which contains the Spratly Island, is thought to contain large oil and gas reserve, as well as being a valuable fishing ground. Because of possible access to these valuable natural resources, China, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia and Taiwan all claim sovereignty over the Spratly Island. Those countries claim that the islands are in their exclusive economic zone (EEZ) as defined by the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea (UNCLOS), which give them right to the resources in the water surrounding the island.
Assalamualaikum, my name is NURFATIN binti SUFFIAN. Thank you to SHARNIDA. I will continue with the third main factor, which is strategic concern. Strategic concern is a critical issue or challenges that affect an organizational long-term goal and interest. The issue has the potential impacts toward organizational ability to achieve the objective. It includes the territorial claim, military build-up, international pressure and nationalist sentiment. The conflict is driven by strategic concerns such as the island potential for oil and natural gases reserve, as well as their location along important shipping routes. Dispute is fueled by nationalist sentiment and historical claim to the island. Tension has occurred in recent years as China has increased its military presence in the region and built artificial islands. This has led to conflict and incident of harassment between Chinese vessels and other claimants. They are concerned that the dispute could escalate into a larger conflict with global implication, and effort to resolve the conflict peacefully has so far been unresolved. For the fourth main factor is political factor. It is political conflict that competing territorial claim driven by strategic interests and international law. China's growing power has led to enforcement position, while other countries has aligned with regional power to counterbalance China influence. Each country has its own set of priorities and interests to seek, protect, and advance through its territorial claim and action. Resolving this conflict will require dialogue, respect for international law, and a commitment to peace. It considered the Spratly Island to be vital to national security and seek to assert territorial claim over the region. They seek to protect their territorial integrity and to ensure access the regional national resources. For this country, the Spratly Island represents an important economic resource and strategic gateway as it is to determine to protect their claim over the island.
Assalamualaikum, I am NURNADIRA ROHANAN and I will continue our group presentation with the point of actors involved in the Spratly Island dispute. As stated in the slide, there are 6 countries involved in the Spratly Island dispute, which are China, Taiwan, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia and Brunei. These 6 countries have each laid competing claims on the Spratly Island on the basis of history, discovery, established law and effective occupation. All the competing countries have occupied some of the island with the exception of Brunei. China, Vietnam and the Philippines fought each other over their claim in the late 80s and mid-90s. These claimant countries are doing various actions as a plan that lead to greater and stronger domination over each other in the Spratly Island area. For example, these claimant countries deploy troops in several areas on Spratly Island. These 6 countries are trying to strengthen their position by stating the advantages that each country does and has against Spratly Island in order to have full right in that area. Claims by the country involved also lead to dispute between several countries such as China and Vietnam.
Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. My name is NURSAHIRA binti AWANG. In my presentations, I will focus on the principles of idealisms that can be related to the Spratly Islands disputes. Idealisms in international relations is a theoretical perspective that emphasizes the role of ideas, values, and norms in shaping the behavior of states in the international system. It is a normative theory that seeks to promote the idea that states should behave in ways that reflects their ethical and moral principles, rather than simply pursuing their own self-interest. For the example, the problem will be solved by having disputes compared with the point of view in the theory of idealisms that show the problems that can be solved by having cooperations and peaceful negotiations. Moreover, it holds that the international relations should be based on shared principles and values such as democracy, human rights, and peaceful cooperation. The first principles of idealism is moral principles, which can be specified as idealism defined that moral principles such as justice, peace, and human rights should be central to the international relations. Furthermore, idealists argued that states should prioritize the promotion of peace in their foreign policy and should work to avoid military conflicts and promote peaceful resolutions of disputes. Other than that, it is also can be understood that reality is ultimately mental or spiritual in nature can be applied to the Spratly Islands conflicts in the sense that the competing claims to sovereignty over the islands are ultimately roots in historical, cultural, and nationalistic narratives that are deeply ingrained in the minds of the claimants. For examples, in 2016, Brunei's Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement affirming its commitments to the peaceful settlements of disputes and calling for mutual respect for the principles of international law, including the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea and the exercise of self-restraint. Brunei's approach to the Spratly Islands conflicts thus reflect the moral principles of idealisms in international relations, which emphasize the importance of promoting peaceful and cooperative relations among states and upholding the principles of international law and mutual respect. Next, I will continue with the second principles of idealism is known as self-determinations. Self-determination is one of the key principles of idealism in international relations. It holds that nations have the right to determine their own destiny and to pursue their own interests without interference from the external actors. Applying this principle to the Spratly Islands conflicts, self-determination could be a useful approach to resolving the disputes and promoting stability in the regions. According to Woodrow Wilson, which is known as a prominent proponent of the principles of idealism, which holds that nations should base their foreign policy on a commitment to promoting democracy, human rights, and peaceful cooperation among nations. By applying the principles of self-determination to the Spratly Islands conflicts, the conflicting party could work together to find solutions that respect the rights and interests of the local populations. In fact, there have been some efforts to engage in negotiations in the past. For example, in 2002, China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, signed a declaration on the conduct of parties in the South China Sea. The declaration committed the signatory to resolving disputes peacefully through negotiations and dialogues. Thank you. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you to Saira. I will continue with the third and the fourth related theory of idealism, which is multilateralism and interdependence. The Spratly Island dispute is a complex territorial conflict that involves multiple claimants and overlapping claims in the South China Sea. Idealist assumptions suggest that multilateral cooperation, regional integration, and economic interdependence could provide a basis for resolving the dispute peacefully. Efforts to achieve this include the example of the ASEAN Regional Forum. ARF has been involved in efforts to address the dispute, including through the signing of the 2011 guideline for the implementation of the Declaration on the Conduct of the Party in the South China Sea. The guideline provides a framework for managing dispute and maintaining peace and stability in the South China Sea, and China Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) seen as a means of promoting economic interdependence between China and the ASEAN member states, which could help build trust and reduce tension between the parties to the dispute. While the Spratly Island dispute remained a complex territorial conflict in the South China Sea, idealist assumptions suggest that the ARF and the BRI represent important steps towards building a regional framework for cooperation and dialogue, but achieving a lasting solution to the Spratly Island dispute that will sustain effort, political will, and a commitment to dialogue and cooperation from all parties that been involved.
I'll continue our presentation by explaining about the impact happened from the Spratly Island dispute. One of the main impacts of this crisis is the potential for military conflict. Several of the claimant countries have already deployed military forces to the dispute area, and there have been several incidents of clashes between vessels from different countries. This has raised tension in the region and increased the risk of an accidental military confrontation. By 1999, nearly 1,650 troops of 5 claimant governments has occupied at least 46 of 51 land formations in the Spratly Island. The regional arms build-up has exacerbated tension in the South China Sea, as several incidents involving bilateral intimidation have contributed to an atmosphere of unease and infighting among the various claimants. For example, there was a clash between China and Vietnam where Chinese and Vietnamese warships fired at each other in the area. From that situation, hostilities ensued. In that incident, 3 Vietnamese ships sank and lost 74 lives. China emerged as the clear winner from this episode. Proceed with the next impact, which is disrupt economic activities in the region. The dispute that happened can lead to reduction of economic activities. Among the economic activities that are disrupt are fishing activities, oil and natural gas, trade and tourism. In fishing activities, it leads to conflicts over fishing rights, which can disrupt fishermen income and affect the supply and cost of seafood. Meanwhile, in terms of gas and oil resources, the dispute make it difficult to develop these resources and only increase the tension. From the aspect of maritime trade, for example, disputes have resulted in limited access to waters and increased risk to shipping. For tourism activities, it can have a negative impact on the tourism industry in the region due to the difficulty of accessing. Other than reduction on the economic activity, the dispute brought to the economic impact on reduced foreign investment. The uncertainty and instability surrounding the territorial dispute have reduced foreign investment in the region.
Next point is regional diplomacy and cooperation. The dispute has strained relations between the countries involved, and this has made it difficult to address other regional issues through cooperation and diplomacy. One of the issues related to regional diplomacy and cooperation in the Spratly Island dispute is the Code of Conduct Negotiation (COC). The claimant countries, through the Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN) and China, have been involved in negotiations to develop a code of conduct aimed at managing dispute, reducing tension, and promoting cooperation in the South China Sea, including the Spratly Island. A robust and effective COC agreed to by all parties can be a framework for peaceful settlement and cooperation in the region. Moreover, there are also regional institutions and multilateral diplomacy. Regional institutions such as ASEAN can provide a platform for dialogue, negotiation, and cooperation among the claimant countries. Multilateral diplomacy, through regional forums and dialogue, can facilitate discussions and promote peaceful resolution of the dispute. This mechanism can provide opportunities for negotiation, confidence building, and promote a rule-based approach to managing the dispute. The last one is a global impact. The ongoing dispute over the Spratly Island has significant global implication. The dispute over the Spratly Island has resulted in heightened geopolitical tensions in the region. Several countries have competing territorial claims, leading to disputes over maritime boundaries, sovereignty, and resources. The global impact of this is that it can disrupt trade routes, destabilize regional security, and create diplomatic tensions among the countries involved. There is also a resource competition. The Spratly Islands are believed to be rich in oil, natural gas, and fishery resources, which make them a valuable economic and strategic asset. Competition for these resources among claimant countries has led to overfishing, illegal fishing, and environmental degradation in the region. Destruction of coral reef and marine ecosystem adversely affect global marine biodiversity and can have long-term consequences for the sustainability of fish stocks, affecting local livelihoods and global food security. That's it. Thank you.
Lesson learned that we got from this issue is the first one, it is very important of dialogue and negotiation. The Spratly Island dispute emphasized the importance of dialogue and negotiation in resolving conflict peacefully. It highlighted the need for diplomatic efforts, multilateral negotiation, and engagement among parties to find mutually acceptable solutions based on international law, diplomacy, and respect for sovereignty. So the next, we find that international law and diplomacy is very important in any kind of thing that involve other countries. So the Spratly Island dispute emphasize the significance of international law and diplomacy in resolving dispute among nations. It highlights the need for adherence to establish international norms such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea (UNCLOS), which provide a framework for the peaceful settlement of maritime dispute.
Thank you, Naz, for the explanation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am your BINTI, as I have presented. We continue to explain the recommendation to solve the issue and the conclusion. There are 4 recommendations. Firstly, multilateral diplomatic initiative. Secondly, international joint commission approach. Thirdly, mutual development scheme. And last but not least, the 4th recommendation is multilateral marine peace pact. First, we go to the multilateral diplomatic initiative. By ongoing diplomatic negotiations, the conflicting parties are able to investigate the possibility of an unified way of resolution. All of other countries involved in the consequently members of the International Court of Justice, ICJ. Also, Spratly Island issue are adherent of the United Nations have the ability to take the dispute over the Spratly Island to the International Court of Justice, ICJ. But doing so requires the approval of the parties implicated. It is hard endeavor for the association to obtain a global consensus to embrace the sovereignty of the ICJ in order to sort out their disputation through it because of the complexity of the argument and the numbers of countries that are involved. Next, International Joint Commission approach, which will involve the participation of an equal quantity of representatives from each of the disputing associations. As a result of the persistently prestigious nature of the Spratly conflict situation, the establishment of the Commission will serve to legitimize the negotiation process by way of ongoing supervision. In this regard, each of the parties involved in the conflict should be proactive and sincerely in their effort to bring their issue in the process of settlement. Moreover, mutual development scheme. It is to help coordinate resource management, environmental preservation, and scientific research. Coastal nations in a semi-enclosed sea are encouraged by Article 123 of the UN CITES. The conflicting parties may agree to drop their sovereignty claims and instead treat the area as a semi-enclosed sea in order to share the economic benefits of resource extraction. And last but not least, the fourth recommendation is multilateral marine peace pact. It is for temporarily shelving all claims to sovereignty over the island in question. Peace pact is referred as transborderly protected areas that are explicitly devoted to the preservation and defense of biological diversity and to environmental and connected cultural resources. Also, to the development of cooperation and peace by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. In conclusion, because of the numbers of parties involved and the complexity of the situation, the border dispute in the Spratly Island is predominantly serious conflict in the world of marine law. The ability of any approach to successfully resolve a disagreement relies on the parties' ability to come to an agreement with one another. Hence, the parties involved in conflict ought to continue their effort to develop a uniform procedure that is capable of resolving the problem and amicably, and opening the door to utilizing the dispute resources for the benefit of both parties' interests in this region. And it's bring us to the end. That's all for us. Thank you so much for your participation and attention.